guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 1, Episode 5, Ladies Who Lunch. You guys, I am really enjoying Salt Lake City. I was not sure if we needed this, but now I can't imagine not watching it. I just have so much fun watching it. I have so much fun talking about it. And I really want to get into this episode and get you guys' thoughts. So let's get into it. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and say if you're enjoying this show, please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Real Housewives Recaps, or check the comments below and I'll put a link. And for $1 a week, you can support my show and get 4 bonus episodes per month. I'm covering Scary Island, like the greatest season of Real Housewives of New York. So check it out. Thanks so much. So we pick up at Mary's lunch, and I just want to check in with you guys. Where do you stand with everybody? I really wanted to like Mary. There was one episode, I think it was like the second or the third one, I can't remember, where I kind of liked her a little bit more because you saw a little bit more of her background. But I just can't with Mary. She seems like an awful person. I don't understand anything about her life. I want to know everything about her finances, and that's true of all the housewives. I don't understand how she funds such a lavish lifestyle. I've been sent many things by you guys because you're amazing about her church allegedly being a cult and a money-making scheme and yeah, all allegedly. Okay, so I don't know. And Jen's a little bit much too, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, you guys. I was really turned off by Mary this episode. Same with Lisa, though, but for different reasons, and we'll talk about that later. But, okay, so Mary and Jen are still going at it, and Jen calls Mary out for her eyes, which I thought was really funny. Jen is saying we were brought up very effing differently, and Mary's like, don't curse at me. And Jen says, don't wave those eyeballs at me. Oh, I love that. Okay, Mary is saying, I didn't want to invite you. And I just think that's a crappy thing to do. Well, you did invite her. So even if you don't like each other, it's a freaking lunch. You can't tell me. I mean, you're telling me you can't just make it through it. I think Jen and Mary are actually a lot alike, truthfully. I think they're both very stubborn and strong-willed, and the difference was that Jen tried to come back in and sit down and make this work, and Mary just wasn't interested in that. I actually really felt for Heather here because Heather's my favorite, by the way. I just love her. I think she's so great. I can't wait to see who she hooks up with next week. I just think she's so much fun. I hope she finds all the love in the world or whatever she's looking for. I really like her. So Heather is trying to play peacemaker, and she's saying this has to stop between Mary and Jen. Oh, P.S. These guys were in the background, and they're so creepy. And let's see. Mary says Jen smells like hospital, and Jen called Mary a grandfather effer. At this point, the score is settled. Let's forgive it. Let's forget it. Let's move on. And Lisa's saying, when Jen said those words at the party, I was cringing inside, and I know what she's thinking. Like, we all feel this way, but I don't. Talking about Mary. And I get that. I'm sure that's a sensitive subject for Mary. But come on. You did marry your not biological, but your grandfather, your step-grandfather, whatever. It's disgusting. I'm here to judge. That's what I do. So, I don't know. This argument was ridiculous, and I really, again, I feel like Jen and Mary are very much alike in weird ways, but I have to say I'm not on Mary's side. I don't know that I'm on Jen's side, but I'm not on Mary's side on this one. I just thought she asked everybody to share. Jen shared, and Mary pounced on it. The editors even showed us where it flashed back and Mary said, let's not interrupt each other. And yet Mary interrupts Jen. So Mary's saying, bye-bye, Jen, bye-bye. And Whitney says, I don't know how it ended this way. It started so nice. And I don't know. It seemed like kind of a silly argument. I felt, again, I'm siding with Jen because she was opening up about her life and her dad and the tragedy of losing him and what she's been through. And I felt like Mary was already pissed at Jen about the grandfather effer comment. I'm sorry, I can't say that without laughing. So, of course, this was just something for her to pounce off and send her over the edge. So Jen goes outside. Heather goes out and tries to bring her back in. And I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I really want to know. Leave me comments below. Whose side are you on this? Are you on either side? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you think Jen and Mary are alike? Because they're both very stubborn and strong-willed, and I think they both think the world revolves around them. I think that's what it is. But Mary and those eyes, they will give me nightmares. So Mary's crying, saying, we all have pain. Don't sit here and curse me. So Heather ends up bringing Jen back in. Heather is telling Mary, well, you criticized Jen, like maybe you guys should apologize to each other, and Mary won't hear of it. She's like, not true. And Lisa's saying there's unresolved feelings, and Jen says, I wouldn't be here if I didn't care. I believe that. I do think Jen has a little bit more, just from the, I'm judging them on 5 episodes I've seen them, but so far, again, I think the world revolves around both of them. But I do think Jen has a little bit more sensitivity than Mary does. Mary just seems pissed. And she's looking for a reason to throw Jen out. That's how I see it. So then things get really interesting here because Whitney says Jen opened up after she finished, and then all of a sudden she trails off because Mary cuts her off and says, let me talk, you're 30, you don't know. I didn't know that she was 30. I knew she was young, but I didn't know that she was 30. Damn. How old is her husband? Okay, so Mary then proceeds to call Jen a hoodlum. That's just wrong. Jen says, you don't respect what I've been through. Okay, then we get into some sensitive stuff. I'm just going to repeat what Jen says here. Jen says that Mary said when there are black people in front of a 7-Eleven, she will go somewhere else. I'm just going to let that sit right there because I don't know what to do with that information. That is so wrong on so many levels. There's just so many things wrong with that. Mary, if she said this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So wrong to say. Mary, are you thinking? Hello? Aren't you and your husband and your children black? And think about Jen. She's a woman of color and her whole family are, black. And I just can't, that is the most ignorant thing. It's just an ignorant statement. So if she said that just makes my stomach hurt. That's disgusting. But Mary doesn't even deny it. She literally goes on to say, Jen's saying, represent your people. And Mary says, convenience stores, my mind automatically goes violent. So I have a fear of them. So I'm just thinking, okay, so that's your excuse. If there's something you don't like, you say, I have a fear of them. So now it's hospital smells and convenience stores. And I'm sorry, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I don't think anybody likes to go hang out in the convenience stores, but I just think she's trying to cover her tracks, honestly. Like maybe she realized she said something ignorant. Maybe not. I don't know. It just makes no sense. So Jen says bye to everybody and she leaves, and Mary says, that's it, I tried. No, you didn't really try, Mary. You said some awful things and threw somebody out of your lunch. So, crazy lunch. Okay, so moving on. So they just did these quick interstitials at the different ladies' houses. I don't know. We see Meredith and Brooks. She's saying Jen apologized, and Brooks said, oh, it's because she said Jen basically apologized. Brooks says there's no basically. She either did or she didn't. And And Meredith says, well, she only yells at people she likes. And that was Brooks's face, and that kind of made me laugh. Okay, so over at Heather's. So remember, she's a divorced mom of 3 daughters. Now, I actually thought this was a very interesting story. She says her ex always provided for them. He wanted her to always be able to be available to the daughter. So it sounds like he took care of them enough that she didn't have to work, that she was available to be there for them. And I think that's amazing. I mean, it sucks that they got divorced, but it's good that he took care of them in such a wonderful way. Ashley and Jaden have been dating for 2 years. Now, this was interesting because Heather explains, typically in a Mormon household, you don't let the daughter go to more than one dance with the same boy because it will mean that they're getting more serious, and a serious relationship leads to sex. So I thought that was really interesting to hear. But she doesn't believe in any of that. She says since the divorce, the kids aren't so much into being Mormon anymore. And the kids are saying, they're so judgy, that's why I don't like to go to church. Okay, let's talk about Meredith and Seth. Now, these pictures are blurry because for whatever reason, when people are in a car and it's moving, it goes blurry. So, sorry about that. So, I tried to give Seth a chance. You guys saw it before I did, what a scumbag he is. I saw it last episode. I really saw it this episode. I hate this guy. Meredith's picking him up from the airport, and he's saying he's missed her, and apparently he's been working between Chicago and Ohio, and the last time they were together was volatile. And she's hopeful and optimistic that this time they'll have a more smooth time together. And he immediately starts, I think, I hate the word gaslighting, but kind of gaslighting her, picking at her or something. He's asking about her coming to Ohio with him. And she says, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not living in Ohio. He obviously knows this is a sensitive subject for her. And he's bringing it up on camera because he's an ass. Meredith explains she's uprooted her family and moved every couple years for him. She said her oldest graduated from high school and they were so busy with the last move that she didn't even get to digest it. So being asked to move again by Seth is a trigger for her. And she's saying to him, it's not easy to uproot her business every few years. And I don't want to talk about this. And so Seth gets to act all butthurt about it. But Seth is a monster. What an ass. Okay, moving on to Mary. I don't understand anything about Mary's house. I don't understand all the shoes, did you see all the racks of clothes everywhere? It makes no sense to me. It's just so much stuff. My head would spin. Where is she getting all of her money? Is it family money? I mean, I know Grandma had some stuff, but what are we doing here? I mean, obviously, it had to have had something to do with her marrying the husband, right? I mean, is that how they kept the money in the family? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It's so gross and so creepy. All right. Husband pages the housekeeper to bring her tray. Okay. Again, high maintenance much. She's telling her husband about what happened. And at the same time, we see Jen FaceTiming Sharif. And she's telling him about Mary's lunch, and it's the most horrible experience of her life. To which I say, girl, that's not a horrible experience. She was a bitch. It was weird. I get it. That's not a horrible experience. Okay. So, again, back to Mary telling her husband about the event, and she was talking about how much love she put into the event. Nah, you just threw stuff at it. They go back and forth and telling their sides. Jen tells her husband about Mary calling her a hoodlum, about the 7-Eleven comment, and, of course, her whole family is black, so they all had a problem with that. But I love her husband, Sharif. He's saying, keep your response up here. Rise above this. Mary's sinking low. You got to go higher. And I thought that was really cool. Mary tells her husband about the comments about the grandfather effer and she's like, you're not my blood grandfather. Ugh, to even be able to say that sentence creeps me out so bad. Mary starts doing the Candace thing where she's dabbing her eyes with a paper towel, and you know how I feel about Candace, so I just kind of have PTSD when I see that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's the dab, dab, dab. Ugh, I can't. I just can't. Jam that thing in the corner of your eye. Ugh, that's how people get tears out. I think Kyle kind of does the same thing. I just can't. Ugh. Okay. Mary's husband says it's nothing but jealousy. I don't think that's it. And Mary's saying all that anger for no reason. I don't think it's no reason. Okay, so then we go over to Whitney. Whitney goes to jiu-jitsu. And we find out this is her brother. I believe this one's by marriage. P.S. She got a new confessional look this week that I am not really a big fan of. She's beautiful, but I just think she's so beautiful naturally. She doesn't need all this makeup and this Marilyn Monroe look. Okay, so her brother is his will. She explains the family how they married and divorced, and there were 6 of them, and they used to get along, and then after the divorce, where she's stuck with her dad, the kids all fought against each other. So we find out Dad has been doing this a lot. He's unfortunately struggled with addiction for a very long time. He's going to go into sober living house. After he left his rehab, he was supposed to go straight there, but instead he took off for California. And Whitney explains that she's been paying for everything and she's tapped out. Let's see. So he's supposed to go check into the living facility on Tuesday. So it's such an interesting storyline. I think it's really cool how Whitney stuck by her dad when it sounds like most of them did not. It's amazing that she's been supporting him. I just hate that storyline when a kid has to take care of their parent. That's awful. But I don't know. She just seems like a sweet girl. So I really like her so far. Then we go over to Lisa. Now, I realized something this episode. I think Lisa is turning into Wendy from Potomac for me. Instead of talking about her 4 degrees ad nauseum, she's talking about, you can see it starting to come up, this Sundance thing. And it's really going to come to a head next week. But she's basically explaining it's her son's birthday party, and with Sundance coming, I have to think, that's her voice. Okay, with Sundance coming, I have to think, what can I do now? Birthdays are a big deal. I can give them 100% of my attention. So basically she's saying, when Sundance happens, peace out, family. I'm gone. But it's your birthday, so I'll be here right now for 100%. It's just weird. It's weird to hear the name dropping of Sundance over and over. Like, where I live in Florida, it just means nothing to me. I know it's a film festival, but it just means nothing to me. I don't know. I just don't know anything about it. Don't really care. And if it's taking you that far away from your family for a while, then that might be a problem. Okay, so so that brings up a question. What is her involvement with Sundance? Like, does she help put it on? She must be devastated this year. I haven't looked at the news and I don't really care. I'm guessing everything was canceled since, stupid COVID. But anyway, okay, so she's talking to her husband and they're talking about what's going on with Meredith and her marriage. And she's saying in all marriages, there's time you feel out of sync with each other. We find out she threw her husband's Rolex out the car window when they were pissed at each other. He ended up going back and found it. It took forever. He found it in a snowbank. I don't know what that story was supposed to make us feel for them, but it just turned me off even more. Like, the privilege, the lack of awareness, just that, oh, okay, I'll throw a very expensive watch out the window. No problem. My God. Okay, so we go over to Whitney's, and it's her and her dad. She is actually taking him to drop him at the sober living facility. He's going to go in for 3 months. And she explains that we've been going through this in some form so many times over the last 10 years. This is the first time he's actually chosen himself to go to a sober living facility. So good for him. Sounds like he's making steps in the right direction. And, what can I say? I sincerely hope this is it. This works out for him. Let's see. She says this is the best she's felt about the situation. She's hoping he will let go of the past and this will help him stay sober. And I feel for Whitney because you can tell. She she loves and cares about her dad so much. She wants the best for him. She thinks she thinks this will be it. She's putting all her hope in this. And I hope for her sake it's right. I hope it works out. Then we go to a really tough scene. So again, we're back with Meredith and Seth. And I just can't with him. He has to go. And she asks what his plan is. And they talk about it. And this time it seems like it's her. She's saying she needs the space. And he says, fine, you want room? I'll give you room. And maybe being out of the picture for a while will help you find what you want. And maybe I'm not in the picture. And he's saying these things like that to her, I think, to try to get a reaction out of her. And either to get her to say, no, Seth, please stay. Don't do this. No, that's not what happened. She says, I don't disagree. And I love that because that stung him. That stung his ego so bad. And I think she finally feels like she's in a place where she maybe doesn't need him and doesn't need him in the picture and does need some space. So he says, it's not what I want to separate. Sometimes you have to work things out, not together. And Meredith says it's fine to still be separated. And he says, I don't want to separate after 25 years. And so again, he's looking for her. I believe he's looking for her to say, no, Seth, let's not do this. You're right, 25 years, let's stay. But she's putting herself first. And I say good for her because it sounds like they've put him first for the entirety of the marriage, moving around where he needed to go. Okay, so let's see. She says, I love you. He cries and gets his things and leaves. Then we go over to Heather. Heather's meeting Mary for dinner. And Heather says, the last time I saw Mary, things got a little heated. Even though she says I have two faces, I want her to know I can be her friend, independent of Jen, and I love her and I'm here for her. And I love this about Heather. Even though Mary insulted her, she's still trying to say, listen, I can be friends to you both. I can be here. I can do this. Again, I keep going back to Potomac, but this is Karen from Potomac. She's trying to be a friend of Monique. She's trying to be a friend of Candace. And she's trying to do the right thing by both of them. And I feel like Heather's heart is in the right place, and she's trying to do the right thing by both of them. Mary is saying her anger and rage comes out at me, and she's triggered. So Mary's saying she's triggered by what I have. She's not used to it because of my color. Whatever I have, she has to be the best. And it makes no sense. Heather even says to camera, what is Mary saying? Does being black have to do with Jen being jealous over her Chanel purses? It makes no sense. And I feel like Mary realized she screwed up and she's in trouble with the audience because Jen told what she said about the 7-Eleven thing. So now she's saying this. So I just don't know about this. So Mary's saying she never apologized about any of the things she said behind my back. Okay, fine. That's a leg to stand on. She did call her grandfather heifer, which will never not be funny to me. But I don't know. I just think Mary thinks the world revolves around her. Everybody wants what she has. No, thank you. And so why would Jen be any different? Mary to camera says, it took us 2 years to get married, and I had to be certain when I did that I felt at peace with it, and I married him. And Heather says, I feel so bad for Mary choosing faith over love. And Mary's saying, when I'm done, I'm done. And Heather's trying to say, you guys have a lot in common. That's the same thing I've been saying. I think so too. And Mary says she's damaged. She's burnt the bridge, so I'm done. And to that I say, are you a religious leader? I just think, aren't you supposed to forgive and not judge? That's just my opinion on that. Okay. We see a flash to next time. We see it's Whitney's husband's birthday. Looks like a wild party there. Lisa says just an idiotic statement. She says, while some people are throwing house parties during Sundance, I'm running Sundance. Okay, Wendy, and your degrees. Okay. And then we see the kids saying, during Sundance, Mommy is MIA. It's Brooks's fashion week, and it's his first show, and he's very upset because his dad isn't coming. And that's so heartbreaking. That's disappointing that Seth won't be there. He's a jerk. We see, what is it? It's Lala and Katie from Vanderpump. We see them show up. Of course, they're both from Salt Lake, so they make an appearance. And then we find out Heather meets a guy. And apparently Heather leaves with a guy. So I want to see all about this guy and see who she's hooking up with. Because, yeah, I just want to see. Oh, you guys, I love this show. I really do. I'm so enjoying recapping it. I'm enjoying watching it. It's so fun to talk about. And such a good episode. And I just really want to know your thoughts. So leave me comments below. Let me know what you thought. If you enjoyed it. If you're enjoying the season. Which side are you on? Do you totally disagree with my statements? What are your thoughts? But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to further support the show, consider checking out my Patreon. It's only $1 a week, $4 a month. It gets you 4 bonus episodes a month. Again, I'm covering Scary Island. It's such an amazing season of New York Housewives. So check that out. And yeah, I'm also doing all kinds of other shows. So check them out. And thank you guys so much for watching. Got more Miami coming at you. I got more Ladies of London coming at you. I got 90 Day Fiancé new season just started. Even if you don't watch that, seriously watch my recap because those people will make you feel so much better about your life. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.